What most of you guys know, that I champion the idea of taking a ready-to-run vehicle and getting it to just bust an ass. But if you really want to know the truth, if you really, really want to get down in this hobby, the difference between a race machine and a mid-market ready-to-run, in many instances, it's shocking.
Mitchie Trick, since you didn't want to get into the niggas the real way, we gon' have to keep it Eastside mean and LK all day.
The least you need to know is any race machine can bash. Very few ready to run can race.
Good luck with that.
See, Mr. Emphatic Guy.
This new millennium, they got you pumped up and full of adrenaline, and claiming all kind of spotlights that's not even yours. Have my number.
Do I think it's okay to take a race machine and bash it? Hell yeah. I mean, well, if you think about it, it's more durable and it drives better, so why the hell wouldn't you? Oh, I know why. Money. You will get a vehicle that does more and drives better.
Mentality, the only reason you're not a casualty, and it's a myth trying to battle me. Shit, nigga, here's a dose of reality. Drama boy, top pinch slinging ganja boy.
You just have to decide if it's right for you. Too many variables go into that equation. I can't consult you.
Jerk, losers, shifty set change abusers, confusers, entity, what you won't be.
All I can do is give my opinion and my advice, and that is to become astute with Nitro before you begin investing that sort of money.
Make the switch, you lucky that you out of town. Southeast be out of bounds. You get found, you know how to duck down or lose your crown. Cause loud, that's what happens now for talking loud, faking the fame, hating the game, speaking the name. You get.
If you think about it, just like with any hobby, you're unable to truly appreciate the equipment until you need that equipment. You're going to have haters on both sides telling you that you're running snobby shit, or guys that are telling you you're running cheap shit.
Most
Most of those guys have no idea what they're talking about anyways. Ignore them. Just know that there is upgrade options galore, and you can get vehicles that get busy beyond your wildest dreams.
And it's a damn shame how these niggas proclaim to bang the flame. Y'all started off Brosstown and I was raised from a Paru blood gang. It's all the same. From avenues, Campanellas, Westside trees, Zoos, Park City Stone, the Paru legacy. And these South Beach streets, they flag more colors than the rainbow. And magazines sitting on flame riders gon' hit your ass like Al Qaeda. Gotta use military tactics cause I know they highlight badges. Get you feeling distracted. Celebrating the dead. 16th president, every 100 fucking back some. Just look at the coins in your pockets, penny ass niggas. We gone, deep throw this motherfucker how? He ain't never been a king. In your last breathing moment, nigga, hear subtle sounds of sirens. Mutilated bodies, I left the spot hot like that Mojave. Plucking niggas off like turkeys, it's just the same fucking hobby. Young gangster make show, you know what your set stand for. I end up changing sets like draws, getting mauled, you silly homie.
Me and 5 homies, I'm solo. With 4 peace soldiers, stuffed a couple of 4 deep clovers, hit a 350 motor. It ain't over, the ski mask converted back to a beanie and disappear right in front of y'all niggas' eyes just like Houdini. I'm whole set running around wearing color that just don't seem right. That shit is funny as hell. Wearing all red behind this green light, and y'all getting started to spray. Can't stop the cops and race. Thing is, when we blast, right there is Dr. J's. Get on about y'all business, knowing damn well y'all really don't love none. The only acting is really packing through the shoulders, y'all have problems. And hit me up with the L sign, it looks like he went that way. Or the old winking gun, blink, but don't run. Unstuck, shot of luck, I mean y'all caught up in a hard place. And you gotta be the only set with the only YWCA. 2 taco shops next door to the Sundance store. And a gang of apartment complexes with only one landlord.
We toss hitters, tossing out 50s, blowing up Lincoln high schools. In fact, it's named Itchy. Skyline is big as fuck. Leprechauns keep getting plucked like church's chicken. I get 10 for a fucking buck. Hit 'em like a Mack truck. Get your jaw wired up. East side ride on Lemonhead. They got them good guts. Bitch, you use a little trick. Lying ass faggot bitch said you hate pirates, but you opened up a DJ Quick. Record sales ain't good. You did what I thought you would. Scan your own music, sold it out and moved out the hood. Soft like pussy, wear soft softball gloves. I know you wish you was a pirate, but you ain't no blood. You fucking actor, and all the time he wasn't even a factor. Wearing green skirts and Abraham Lincoln was a cracker. Shot Schnitty, got titties, watch him bleed to death. Hollywood suck big dicks and he love Hillcrest.
Yesterday I posted a video about bearings and essentially switching those out when you're using bushings. Now, obviously the intent of that is to keep everything smooth. One of the things I wanted to quickly touch on is at least my experience with bearings and how to best leverage them, because it was a situation I didn't understand bearings that well. I mean, I knew an outer race was inner race, and it was filled with different types of bearings, and you use the different types of covers, right? So like metal is it's smoother than rubber, but metal will allow contaminants to come inside of and affect the grease much easier than rubber. Rubber's a little bit it's not as smooth, etc. on up through ceramics and stuff with the balls. But anyways, so there's the difference between the types of shields. The first thing, if you really want to kind of get your pulse on bearings, is to understand how to tell one that's bad. So we'll start out with the riddle. How about that? Or a little trivia, whatever you want to call it. But I get asked a lot, with my tune. I see people's tunes, things like that, and I keep a log of, I helped this person and this is what it turned out to be. I was correct. I was, wasn't correct. It was one of these 5 things. Whatever. I keep data because that's what it's about. And so when I go back and I look at the number one, not reason, but the number one part that causes a person to, the inability for them to tune their engine. How about that? Can you guess what that is? I'm going to give you some hints, okay? So, like I said, it's not the reason, but it's the part that actually causes it. There's 2 of them, but they're the same. Same part, there's just 2 instances of them. The answer, later in this video. We have different ways to test bearings, of course. One is just kind of like this, rotating it in our finger. The next level up test, if you want to look at it like that, would be to find the inner race, like test that out with your, on something like this. If you want to just keep an old axle or something around. And then of course the ultimate test is obviously putting it back where it belongs in its housing and everything together, and being able to feel it with all the areas in place. Now you think about that though, but then we back out further and we say, okay, well, what about the bearings over here and over here and over here? And I guess my point is, if you have one bad one, you might as well have 5 bad ones. So really the only way, in my opinion, is to kind of change all the bearings at once. Instead of just changing these bearings, change them all in time. Don't change this one this time, another, because then these might be bad, right? So one full swoon, change them all, and I guarantee you will notice a difference. I had some binding in this right here. Okay, back to, I guess, hinging and pivoting and stuff like that, and it was the swivel balls, so easily fix that. The bearings that replace bushings are not just for steering assemblies. Okay, now while you have different types of bearings, they can be on the posts, they can be on an acronym plate like that, or one like this. Most of the time what happens is there's they call it like a step screw, and this is really just a smooth screw like that with a washer below, and it's going to just spin around that. So to recap, when it comes to bearings, my advice is change all of them at the same time. You want to run with a complete set of fresh bearings. You also need to understand if you're going to replace something with a bearing, the pros and cons. Do you notice a difference? Do you, even just on the bench? So as an example, I used to run a bearing setup here in the Savage with an aluminum throttle mix. I run a similar design on other vehicles, but the actual part I had here for the Savage, the bearings, it was more trouble than it was worth. The bearings just kept going out. It was just the way it's exposed, things like that. Wasn't worth it. So it would be good on the bench, and then after every run, pretty much it's worse than this. So there's advantages, disadvantages. Anyways, just some bearing talk for you. All right, now for the two items I noted earlier that are the most common item in my experience that will hurt a person's tune.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. Clutch bearings. What happens is, the clutch belt gets hot for whatever reason. The bearing spews its load all inside of the clutch bell, inside the wall. It gets greasy, the shoes slip. The tune doesn't happen. A bite off the line ain't happening. Wait a minute, we're talking about clutch bearings, right? But I've already told you, if you have to change your clutch bearings more than once every 10 gallons, you're obviously doing something wrong. And these guys better know I'm not just sitting up here making things up. This is actual content that's been written. I know, right?
All right, a little something something for you Hyper 7 guys out there. Probably the most important part on that vehicle, that thing right there. I'm talking about, the thin one, like that. And this is because, just to show you margin for error, it's right there. Look at that. I mean, basically, if you go up a hair, like if you get that thing wrong, and then finally, irregardless of what vehicle you rock, as always, when you're going through all this, you're inspecting things, right? And it helps to learn what to look for. Right there, as you see. Now this is a steering crank. You see that? That's not good. That's what they call
CARNAGE.
Now that was from my Mugen, but as I noted, any vehicle this can occur on. Really what's happening is right here, you see, who knows what I did. I think I put the mud guard on. I kind of forced it, and I nudged over the pipe sting holder. But basically, I know about it. I'm going to keep an eye on it so it doesn't happen again.